I'm reading a short story called White Angel by Michael Cunningham. We lived then in Cleveland, in the middle of everything. It was the 60s. Our radios sang out love all day long. This, of course, is history. It happened before the city of Cleveland went broke, before its river caught fire. We were four, my mother and father, Carlton and me. Carlton turned 16 the year I turned 9. Between us were several brothers and sisters, weak flames quenched in our mother's womb. We are not a fruitful or many-branched line. Our family name is Morrow. Our father was a high school music teacher. Our mother taught children called exceptional, which meant that they could name the day Christmas would fall in the year 2000, but couldn't remember to drop their pants when they peed. We lived in a tract called Woodlawn, neat 1- and 2-storey houses painted optimistic colours. Our track bordered a cemetery. Behind our backyard was a gully, choked with a brush, and behind that the field of smooth, polished stones. I grew up with a cemetery and didn't mind it. It could be beautiful. A single stone angel, small-breasted and determined, rose amid the more conservative markers close to our house. Farther away in the richer section, miniature mosques and Parthians spoke silently to Cleveland of man's enduring accomplishments. Carlton and I played in the cemetery as children, and with a little more age, smoked joints and drank Southern Comfort there. I was, thanks to Carlton, the most criminally advanced 9-year-old in my 4th grade class. I was going places. I made no move without his counsel. Here is Carlton several months before his death, in an hour so alive with the snow that earth and sky are identically white. He labours among the markers and I run after, stung by snow, following the light of his red knitted cap. Carlton's hair is pulled back into a ponytail, neat and economical, a perfect pine cone of hair. He is thrifty in his way. We have taken hits of acid with our breakfast juice. Or rather, Carlton has taken a hit and I, considering my youth, have been allowed half. This acid is called window pane. It is for clarity of vision, as Vicks is for decongestion of the nose. Our parents are at work earning the daily bread. We have come out into the cold so that the house, when we re-enter it, will shock us with its warmth and righteousness. Carlton believes in shocks. I think I'm coming onto it, I call out. Carlton has on his buckskin jacket, which is worn down to the shine. On the back, across his shoulder blades, his girlfriend has stitched an electric blue eye. As we walk, I speak into the eye. I think I feel something, I say. Too soon, Carlton calls back. Stay loose, Frisco. You know when the time comes. I am excited and terrified. We are into serious stuff. Carlton has done acid half a dozen times before, but I'm new at it. We slip the tabs into our mouths at breakfast while our mother paused over the bacon. Carlton likes taking risks. Snow collects in the engraved letters on the headstones. I lean into the wind, trying to decide whether everything around me seems strange because of the drug, or just because everything truly is strange. 3 weeks earlier, a family across town had been sitting at home watching television when a single-engine plane fell on them. Snow swirls around us, seeming to fall up as well as down. Carlton leads the way to our spot, the pillared entrance to a society tomb. The tomb is a palace. Stone cupids cluster on the peaked roof with stunted frozen wings and matrons' faces. Under the roof is a veranda, backed by cast iron doors that lead to the house of the dead proper. In summer, this veranda is cool. In winter, it blocks the wind. We keep a bottle of Southern Comfort there. Carlton finds the bottle, unscrews the cap and takes a long, good draw. He is studded with snowflakes. He hands me the bottle and I take a more conservative drink. Even in winter, the tomb smells mossy as a well. Dead leaves and a yellow M&M's wrapper, worried by the wind, scrape on the marble floor. Are you scared? Carlton asks me. I nod. I never think of lying to him. Don't be, man, he says. Fear will screw you right up. Drugs can't hurt you if you feel no fear. I nod. We stand sheltered, passing the bottle. I lean into Carlton's certainty as if it gave off heat. We can do acid all the time at Woodstock, I say. Right on! Woodstock Nation, yow! Do people really live there? I ask. Man, you gotta stop asking that. The concert's over, but people are still there. It's the new nation. Have faith. I nod again, satisfied. There is a different country for us to live in. I'm already a new person renamed Frisco. My old name was Robert. We'll do acid all the time, I say. You better believe we will. Carlton's face, surrounded by snow and marble, is lit. His eyes are bright as neon. Something in them tells me he can see the future, a ghost that hovers over everybody's head. In Carlton's future, we all get released from our jobs and schooling. Awaiting us all, and soon, is a bright, perfect simplicity, a life among the trees by the river. How are you feeling, man? He asks me. Great, I tell him, and it purely is the truth. Doves clatter out of a bare tree and turn at the same instant, transforming themselves from steel to silver in the snow-blown light. I know at that moment that the drug is working. Everything before me has suddenly become radiantly itself. How could Carlton have known this was about to happen? Oh, I whisper. His hand settles on my shoulder. Stay loose, Frisco, he says. There's not a thing in this pretty world to be afraid of. I'm here. I am not afraid. I am astonished. I had not realised until this moment how real everything is. A twig lies on the marble at my feet, bearing a cluster of hard brown berries. The broken off end is raw, white, fleshy. Trees are alive. I'm here, Carlton says again. And he is. Hours later, we are sprawled on the sofa in front of the television, ordinarily as Wally and the Bev. Our mother makes dinner in the kitchen. A pot lid clangs. We are undercover agents. I'm trying to conceal my amazement. Our father is building a grandfather clock from a kit. He wants to have something to leave us, something for us to pass along. We can hear him in the basement, sawing and pounding. I know what is laid out in his sawhorses. A long, raw wooden box onto which he glues fancy mouldings. A single pearl of sweat meanders down his forehead as he works. Tonight, I have discovered my ability to see every room of the house at once, to know every single thing that goes on. A mouse nibbles inside the wall. Electrical wires curl behind the plaster, hidden and patient as snakes. You and I are going to fly, man, Carlton whispers close to my ear. He opens a window. Snow blows in, sparking on the carpet. Fly, he says, and we do. For a moment we strain up and out, the black night wind blowing in our faces. We raise ourselves up off the cocoa-coloured deep pile woolen polyester carpet by a sliver of an inch. Sweet glory! The secret of flight is this: you have to do it immediately before the body realises it is defying the laws. I swear it to this day. We both know we have taken momentary leave of the earth. It does not strike either of us as remarkable, any more than the fact that airplanes sometimes fall from the sky, or that we have always lived in these rooms and we will soon leave them. We settle back down. Carlton touches my shoulder. You wait, Frisco, he says. Miracles are happening. Fucking miracles. I nod. He pulls down the window, which reseals itself with a sucking sound. Our own faces look back at us from this cold, dark glass. Behind us, our mother drops the hamburgers sizzling into the skillet. Our father bends to his work under a hooded night light bulb, preparing the long box into which he will lay clockworks, pendulum, a face. A plane drones by overhead, invisible in the clouds. I glance nervously at Carlton. He smiles his assurance and squeezes the back of my neck. March, after the thaw. I'm walking through the cemetery, thinking about my endless life. One of the beauties of living in Cleveland is that any direction feels like progress. I've memorised the map. We are, by my calculations, 350 miles shy of Woodstock, New York. On this raw, new day, I am walking east, to a place where Carlton and I keep our bottle. I'm going to have an early nip to celebrate my bright future. When I get to our spot, I hear low moans coming from the tomb. I freeze, considering my choices. The sound is a long, drawn-out agony with a whip at the end, a final high C, something like, "Ow!" A wolf's cry run backward. What decides me on investigation rather than flight is the need to make a story. In the stories my brother likes best, people always do the foolish, risky thing. I find I can reach decisions this way by thinking of myself as a character in a story told by Carlton. I creep. Around the side of the monument, cautious as a badger, pressed up close to the marble. I peer over a cherub's girlish shoulder. What I find is Carlton on the ground with his girlfriend, in an uncertain jumble of clothes and bare flesh. Carlton's jacket, the one with the embroidered eye, is draped over the stone, keeping watch. I hunch behind the statue. I can see the girl's naked arms and the familiar bones of Carlton's spine. The two of them moan together in the dry winter grass. Though I can't make out the girl's expression, Carlton's face is twisted and grimacing, the cords of his neck pulled tight. I had never thought the experience might be painful. I watch, trying to learn. I hold on to the cherub's cold wings. It isn't long before Carlton catches sight of me. His eyes rove briefly, ecstatically skyward, and what they do light on his brother's small head, sticking up next to a cherub's. We lock eyes and spend a moment in mutual decision. The girl keeps on clutching at Carlton's skinny back. He decides to smile at me. He decides to wink. I'm out of there so fast I tear up divots. I dodge among the stones, jump the gully, clear the fence into the swing set and picnic table sanctity of the backyard. Something about that wink. My heart beats fast as a sparrow's. I go into the kitchen and find our mother washing fruit. She asks what's going on. I tell her nothing at all. She sighs over an apple's imperfection. The curtains sport blue teapots. Our mother works the apple with a scrub brush. She believes they come coated with poison. Where's Carlton? She asks. Don't know, I tell her. Bobby? Huh? What is going on? Nothing, I say. My heart works itself up to a hummingbird's rate, more buzz than beat. I think something is. Will you answer a question? Okay. Is your brother taking drugs? I relax a bit. It is only drugs. I know why she's asking. Lately, police cars have been browsing our house like sharks. They pause, take note, glide on. Some neighbourhood crackdown. Carlton is famous in these parts. No, I tell her. She faces me with the brush in one hand and apple in the other. You wouldn't lie to me, would you? She knows something is up. Her nerves run through this house. She can feel dust settling on the tabletops, milk starting to turn in the refrigerator. No, I say. Something's going on, she sighs. She is a small, efficient woman who looks at things as if they give off a painful light. She grew up on a farm in Wisconsin and spent her childhood tying up bean rows, worrying about the sun and the rain. She's still trying to overcome her habit of modest expectations. I leave the kitchen, pretending sudden interest in the cat. Our mother follows, holding her brush. She means to scrub the truth out of me. I follow the cat, his erect black tail and pink anus. Don't walk away when I'm talking to you, our mother says. I keep walking to see how far I'll get, calling, kitty, 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 in the front hall. Our father's homemade clock chimes the half hour. I make for the clock. I get as far as the rubber plant before she collars me. I told you not to walk away, she says, and cuffs me a good one with the brush. She catches me on the ear and sets it ringing. The cat is out of there as a quarter note, quick as ever. I stand for a minute to let her know I've received the message. Then I resume walking. She hits me again, this time on the back of the head, hard enough to make me see colours. Will you stop? She screams. Still I keep walking. Our house runs west to east. With every step I get closer to Yaska's farm. Carlton comes home whistling. Our mother treats him like a guest who's overstayed. He doesn't care. He is lost in optimism. He pats her cheek and calls her Professor. He treats her as if she were harmless, and so she is. She never hits Carlton. She suffers him the way farm girls suffer a thieving crow, with a grudge old and endless it borders on reverence. She gives him a scrubbed apple and tells him what she'd do if he tracks mud on the carpet. I am waiting in our room. He brings the smell of the cemetery with him, its old snow and wet pine needles. He rolls his eyes at me, takes a crunch of his apple. What's happening, Frisco? He says. I've arranged myself loosely on the bed, trying to pull a Dylan riff out of my harmonica. I've always figured I can bluff my way into wisdom. I offer Carlton a dignified nod. He drops onto his own bed. I can see a crushed crocus, the first of the year, stuck to the black rubber sole of his boot. "Well, Frisco," he says, "today you are a man." I nod again. "Is that all there is to it?" "Frisco, that was the first time her and I ever did it. I mean, we talked, but when we finally got down to it, there you were, my brother, like you knew." I nod. And this time for real, what happened was an adventure we had together. "All right, this story is beginning to make sense." "Oh, Frisco," Carlton says, "I'm going to find you a girl too. You're 9. You've been a virgin too long." "Really?" I say. "Man, we'll find you a woman from the 6th grade, somebody with a little experience. We'll get you stoned, and I'll make out under the trees in the boneyard. I want to be present at your deflowering, man. You're going to need a brother there." I'm about to ask as casually as I can manage about the relationship between love and bodily pain when our mother's voice cuts into the room. "You did it!" she screams. "You tracked mud all over the rug!" A family entanglement follows. Our mother brings her father, who comes and stands in the doorway with her, taking in evidence. He is a formerly handsome man. His face has been worn down by too much patience. He has lately taken up some sporty touches, a goatee, a pair of calfskin boots. Our mother points out the trail of muddy half-moons that lead from the door to Carlton's bed. Dangling over the foot of the bed are the culprits themselves, voluptuously muddy, with Carlton's criminal feet still in them. "Better clean it right up," our father says to Carlton. "And that's it?" our mother says. "He cleans up the mess and all's forgiven?" "Well, what do you want him to do? Lick it up?" "I want some consideration," she says, turning helplessly to me. "That's what I want." I shrug, at a loss. I sympathise with our mother, but I'm not on her team. "All right," she says. "I just won't bother cleaning the house anymore. I'll let you men handle it. I will sit and watch television and throw my candy wrappers on the floor." She starts out, cutting the air like a blade. On her way, she picks up a jar of pencils, looks at it, and tosses the pencils on the floor. They fall like fortune-telling sticks in pairs and crisscrosses. That spring, our parents have a party to celebrate the sun's return. It has been a long, bitter winter, and now the first wild daisies are poking up on the lawns and among the graves. Our parents' parties are mannerly affairs. Their friends, school teachers all, bring wine jugs and guitars. They are Ohio hip. Though they hold jobs and meet mortgages, they think of themselves as independent spirits on a spying mission. They have agreed to impersonate teachers until they write their novels, finish their dissertations, or just save up enough money to set themselves. Carlton and I are the lackeys. We take coats, fetch drinks. We have done this at every party since we were small, trading on our precocity, doing a brother act. We know the moves. A big, lipsticked woman who has devoted her maidenhood to 9th grade math calls me Mr. Right. An assistant vice principal in a Russian fur hat asks us both whether we expect to vote Democratic or Socialist. By sneaking sips, I manage to get myself semi-cropped. The reliability of the evening is derailed, however, by half a dozen of Carlton's friends. They rap on the door, and as I go for it, anxious as a carnival sharp to see who will step up next and swallow the illusion that I'm a kindly, sober 9-year-old child, I'm expecting callow adults. And who do I find but a pack of young outlaws, big-booted and wild hares. Carlton's girlfriend stands in front, in an outfit made up almost entirely of fringe. "Hi, Barbie," she says confidently. She comes from New York and is more than just locally smart. "Hi," I say. I let them all in despite a retrograde urge to lock the door and phone the police. 3 are girls, 4 boys. They pass me in a cloud of dope smoke and sly-eyed greeting. What they do is invade the party. Carlton is standing on the far side of the rumpus room picking the next album, and his girl cuts straight through the crowd to his side. She has the bones and the loose, liquid moves some people consider beautiful. She walks through that room as if she'd been sent to teach the whole party a lesson. Carlton's face tips me off that this was planned. Our mother demands to know what's going on here. She is wearing a long dark red dress that doesn't interfere with her shoulders. When she dresses up, you can see what it is about her, or what it was. She is responsible for Carlton's beauty. I have our father's face. Carlton does some quick talking. Though it's against our mother's better judgment, the invaders are suffered to stay. One of them, an Eddie Haskell for all his leather and hair, tells her she is looking good. She is willing to hear it. So the outlaws, house sanctioned, start to mingle. I work my way over to Carlton's side, the side unoccupied by his girlfriend. I would like to say something ironic and wised up, something that will band Carlton and me against every other person in the room. I can feel the shape of the comment I have in mind, but being a tipsy 9-year-old, can't get my mouth around it. What I say is, "Shit, man." Carlton's girl laughs at me. She considers it amusing that a little boy says shit. I would like to tell her what I've figured out about her, but I am 9 3/4 gone and Tom Collins is. Even sober, I can only imagine a sharp-tongued wit. "Hang on, Frisco," Carlton tells me. "This could turn into a real party." I can see by the light in his eyes what is going down. He has arranged a blind date between our parents' friends and his own. It's a Woodstock move. He is plotting a future in which young and old have business together. The party starts to roll. Call it an accident of history and the weather. Carlton's friends are on decent behaviour, and our parents' friends have decided to give up some of their wine and folk song propriety to see what they can learn. Carlton is dancing with the vice principal's wife. Carlton's friend Frank, with his ancient child face and IQ in the low 60s, dances with our mother. Our father positions himself at the party's edge. I jump into its centre. I invite the fuchsia-lipped math teacher to dance. She is only too happy. She is big and graceful as a parade float, and I steer her effortlessly out into the middle of everything. My mother, who is known around school for her Sicilian discipline, dances freely, which is news to everybody. There is no getting around her beauty. The night rises higher and higher. A wildness sets in. Carlton throws new music onto the turntable. Janis Joplin, The Doors, The Dead. The future shines for everyone, rich with the possibility of more nights exactly like this. Even our father is pressed into dancing, which he does like a flightless bird, all flapping arms and pot-belly. Still he dances. Our mother has a kiss for him. Finally, I nod out on the sofa, blissful under the drinks. I'm dreaming of flight when our mother comes and touches my shoulder. I smile up into her flushed, smiling face. "It's hours past your bedtime," she says, all velvet motherliness. I nod. I can't dispute the fact. She keeps on nudging my shoulder. I am a moment or two apprehending the fact that she actually wants me to leave the party and go to bed. "No," I tell her. "Yes," she smiles. "No," I say cordially, experimentally. This new mother can dance and flirt. Who knows what else she might allow? "Yes." The velvet motherliness leaves her voice. She means business, business of the usual kind. I get myself out of there and no excuses this time. I'm exactly 9 and running from my bedtime as if I'd run from death. I run to Carlton for protection. He is laughing with his girl, a sweaty question mark of hair plastered to his forehead. I plough into him so hard he nearly goes over. "Whoa, Frisco," he says. He takes me under his arms and swings me a half turn. Our mother plucks me out of his hands and sets me down with a good farm-style hold on the back of my neck. "Say good night, Bobby," she says. She adds, for the benefit of Carlton's girl, "He should have been in bed before this party started." "No!" I holler. I try to twist loose, but my mother has a grip that could crack walnuts. Carlton's girl tosses her hair and says, "Good night, baby." She smiles a victor's smile. She smooths the stray hair off Carlton's forehead. "No!" I scream again, something about the way she touches his hair. Our mother calls our father, who comes and scoops me up and starts me out of the room, holding me like the live bomb I am. Before I go, I lock eyes with Carlton. He shrugs and says, "Night, man." Our father hustles me out. I do not take it bravely. I leave, flailing, too furious to cry, dribbling a slimy thread of horrible child spittle. Later, I lie alone on my narrow bed, feeling that music hum in the coiled springs. Life is cracking open right there in our house. People are changing. By tomorrow, no one will be quite the same. How can they let me miss it? I dream up a revenge against our parents, and worse, for Carlton. He is the one who could have saved me. He could have banded with me against them. What I can't forgive is his shrug, his mild-eyed "Night, man." He has joined the adults. He has made himself bigger and taken size from me. As the doors thump strange days, I hope something awful happens to him. I say so to myself. Around midnight, dim-witted Frank announces he has seen a flying saucer, hovering over the backyard. I can hear his deep, excited voice all the way in my room. He says it's like a blinking, luminous cloud. I hear half the party struggling out through the sliding glass door in a disorganised whooping knot. By that time, everyone is so delirious a flying saucer would be just what was expected. That much celebration would logically attract an answering happiness from across the stars. I get out of bed and sneak down the hall. I will not miss alien visitors for anyone, not even at the cost of our mother's wrath and our father's disappointment. I stop at the end of the hallway though, embarrassed to be in my pyjamas. If there really are aliens, they will think I'm the lowest member of the house. While I hesitate whether to go back to my room to change, people start coming back inside, talking of a trick of the mist and an airplane. People resume their dancing. Carlton may have jumped the back fence. He may have just wanted to be there alone, singular, in case they decided to take somebody with them. A few nights later I will go out and stand where he would have been standing, on the far side of the gully, now a river swollen with melted snow. The cemetery will gleam like a lost city. The moon will be full. I will hang around, just as Carlton must have, hypnotised by the silver light on the stones, the white angel raising her arms across the river. According to our parents, the mystery is why he ran back to the house full tilt. Something in the graveyard may have scared him. He may have needed to break its spell, but I think it's more likely that when he came back to himself, he just couldn't wait to get back to the music and the people, the noisy disorder of continuing life. Somebody has shut the sliding glass door. Carlton's girlfriend looks lazily out, touching base with her own reflection. I look too. Carlton is running towards the house. I hesitate. Then I figure he can bump his nose. It will be a good joke on him. I let him keep coming. His girlfriend sees him through her own reflection, starts to scream a warning, just as Carlton hits the glass. It is an explosion. Triangles of glass fly brightly through the room. I think for him it must be more surprising than painful, like hitting water from a great height. He stands blinking for a moment. The whole party stops, stares, getting its bearings. Bob Dylan sings just like a woman. Carlton reaches up curiously to take a shard of glass that is stuck in his neck. And that is when the blood starts. It shoots out of him. Our mother screams. Carlton steps forward into his girlfriend's arms and the two of them fall together. Our mother throws herself down on top of him and the girl. People shout their accident wisdom. Don't lift him, call an ambulance. I watch from the hallway. Carlton's blood spurts, soaking into the carpet, spattering people's clothes. Our mother and father both try to plug the wound with their hands, but the blood just shoots between their fingers. Carlton looks more puzzled than anything, and as if he can't quite follow this turn of events. It's all right, our father tells him, trying to stop the blood. It's all right, just don't move, it's all right. Carlton nods and holds our father's hands. His eyes take on an astonished light. Our mother screams, "Is anybody doing anything?" What comes out of Carlton grows darker, almost black. I watch. Our father tries to get a hold on Carlton's neck while Carlton keeps trying to take his hand. Our mother's hair is matted with blood. It runs down her face. Carlton's girl holds him to her breast, touches his hair, whispers in his ear. He's gone by the time the ambulance gets there. You can see the life drain out of him. When his face goes slack, our mother wails. A part of her wails flying through the house where it will wail and rage forever. I feel our mother pass through me on her way out. She covers Carlton's body with her own. He is buried in the cemetery out back. Years have passed, we are living in the future, and it's turned out differently from what we planned. Sorry. Our mother has established her life of separateness behind the guest room door. Our father mutters his greetings to the door as he passes. My voice is ridiculous, sorry, it's embarrassing. One April night, Almost a year to the day after Carlton's accident, I hear cautious footsteps shuffling across the living room floor after midnight. I run out eagerly, thinking of ghosts, but only find our father in moth-coloured pyjamas. He looks unsteadily at the dark air in front of him. "Hi, Dad," I say from the doorway. He looks in my direction. "Yes?" "It's me, Bobby." "Oh, Bobby," he says. "What are you doing up, young man?" "Nothing," I tell him. "Dad?" "Yes, son?" "Maybe you better come back to bed, okay?" "Maybe I had," he says. "I just came out here for a drink of water, but I got turned around in the darkness. Yes, maybe I better had." I take his hand and lead him down the hall to his room. The grandfather clock chimes the quarter hour. "Sorry," our father says. I get him into bed. "There," I say. "Okay?" "Perfect. Could not be better." "Okay. Good night." "Good night, Bobby." "Uh-huh." Why don't you stay a minute?" he says. "We could, have ourselves a talk, you and me. How would that be?" "Okay," I say. I sit on the edge of his mattress. His bedside clock ticks off the minutes. I can hear the low rasp of his breathing. Around our house the Ohio night chirps and buzzes. The small grey finger of Carlton Stone pokes up among the others, within sight of the angel's blank white eyes. Above us, airplanes and satellites sparkle. People are flying even now toward New York or California to take up lives of risk and invention. I stay until our father has worked his way into a muttering sleep. Carlton's girlfriend moved to Denver with her family a month before. I never learned what it was she'd whispered to him. Though she kept her head admirably during the accident, she cried so hard at the funeral that she had to be taken away by her mother, an older, redder-haired version of her. She started seeing a psychiatrist 3 times a week. Everyone, including my parents, talked about how hard it was for her to have held a dying boy in her arms at that age. I'm grateful to her for holding my brother while he died, but I never once heard her mention the fact that though she had been through something terrible, at least she was still alive and going places. At least she protected herself by trying to warn him. I can appreciate the intricacies of her pain, but as long as she was in Cleveland, I could never look her straight in the face. I couldn't talk about the wounds she suffered. I can't even write her name.